evolution of sound.
Beep beep, what's up ninjas? Today you're going to be learning how to make a G-House drop in episode 1 of how to make a G-House track. Now, we're going to be utilizing the brand new sample, sound bank, and project file pack of Evolution of Sound called Confessions Revolution, which is going to be Ableton files. We're going to have 2 project files. The G-House Nation one is a completed track. We're going to have Aina Prophetic Utopia 4 Drops project to give you guys the sound of Confessions. This is where the remakes of all this, 4 songs from Confessions to Chami's label, where Malaa, Mercer, Dombrensky, Angels, and all these guys are, this is their home. And pretty much you're also going to have an FL Studio version, which is going to have 4 drops, and they're all going to have their own project files, and you're going to be able to see that there. And then we're going to have a Serum sound bank, a Silent One sound bank, and a sample pack with a vocal pack with over 100 phrases. So if you guys are ready to make a track, I am. Let's get started with this. So the first thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to pick a kick from the sample pack. We're going to be going into the drums, drum one shots, and the kicks. You're going to have your kicks here. Now, I think I'm going to go with this one because I like the key of G for G-House. That's the first tip I'm going to give you guys right now, that a lot of G-House is made in the key of G. And the reason for that, guys, is going to be because G gives the bass just so much nice, a nice feeling. That's where the sub is going to be at its strongest, in my opinion. And I'll show you guys what I mean right now. So let's just make a normal 4 on the 4. The next thing is to put this at 123 BPM. G-House isn't really that fast, so we want to keep it around there. So we're going to have this right now. Now, the cool thing about the kicks that we made, obviously, is that they were made to pretty much just hit out of the box. So you're not going to really need to do much to them. However, just for safety precautions, I will recommend you add a mono. And this is a tip that I give to everyone. Always add mono to your kicks, because your kicks should always be in the center of the mix. We made sure that when we made the kicks, they didn't phase. There wasn't any phasing. What that means is that sometimes you have sampled kicks from a sample pack. You'll see maybe the left side is a lot louder than the right side. That's because there's phasing issues, and that's usually a bad thing. Usually it means the sound designer didn't know what he was doing. So here we have a standard kick. All right, now what's the next thing we're going to do? We're going to pick our sound. So we're going to go into Serum here. I already have it open, and we're going to go and pick a sound. So pretty much you're going to be installing this in your documents folder. Now here we're going to have, as you guys can see, we're going to have bass lines here. We're going to have our leads here, which are all going to be based on G-House. And then our synths are going to be pretty much the wobbles that you guys like. They're going to be kind of like the ear candy synths that you guys would end up using. So let's go with a bass line and see what we can find. Alright, let's see. Let's utilize one of the MIDIs from the pack in order to get this started, so we can pick our sound and go from there. So the MIDIs are going to be located here in Confessions MIDI tools. There's going to be about 32 of them that were made. So let's see if we can find one. I want one slow. Alright, let's go with this one. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to do this, Command J that, and then we're going to have this. I'm kind of in the mood for something not that slow, but a little bit faster. Okay, let's see if we can find something there. Let's see. Okay, I know this one. I don't really like it. Alright, this is more like it. Let's move this up a semitone there. Let's move it down to key of G. Now what I want to do is make sure the sound is in mono. It is. Let's add some legato to it. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to sidechain this. Now the reason for the sidechain is going to be because we want to sidechain the bass, because the bass and the kick are never going to get along. That's always a God rule, and the way we kind of avoid them confronting each other is through the sidechain. That's the main reason why we sidechain. It's not because we want the effect, but because the effect allows the kick and the bass to get along for just that split second. How? Well, the bass ducks in volume while the kick hits, and then the kick goes away, and then the bass comes back in. It's just kind of like a little trade that they do. So what we're gonna do is add the kick to it. All right, so there you go. Now let's pick a sound that we like. This is a little bit too open for my style right now. Oh, wow, that's hard. All right, we're going to go with, I think I know which one I want. It's going to be let's try Head Nigga. we're gonna go with this one, Malo. Now what we're gonna do is just name this a bass. There we go. Now, the way we want to do this now is we want to make a dedicated sub. The dedicated sub is going to allow us to pretty much do a couple of things, and that's going to allow us to pretty much saturate, distort the bass a bit more with outside processing in order to it, you know, just to sound a lot fatter. And also it's going to allow us so the sub doesn't get altered in any way, because again, the sub is a very delicate thing. Now, we're going to put this here and we want to make sure it sounds in the boomiest. Nope, odd an octave. Down one more. There you go. So once we have that, now what I like to do is make sure it's in mono, add a little bit of legato to it. Now I'm going to put the volume up. Okay, that's a bit too much. There we go. Now, the next thing to do is I'm going to compress the sub. Why? Because when the sub is changing a lot, when it goes from G down to F, it might go down in volume or it might come up in volume. That's one of the things you're going to notice. Check this out. We're going to go to the sub. Well, right now we're doing a compressor, but let's see. It changes a bit, so what we need to do is have that compressor doing the sidechain. And this is going to be more heavily done than the normal bass. You know, so then what we're going to do is add a compressor here. Whoops. Don't want to do that. We're going to add another one. Just to control those peaks, and then add a limiter. Why? Just in case it decides to just go crazy. We just want to be safe. Add it here. We're gonna add them. There we go. Now what we're gonna do to this bass, and since we already have that bass pretty much, you know, covering that low end, the sub, we got to get rid of the bass here. So now when they play together, it creates more of a relationship. So pretty much, why does this work? You might be like, oh, Samuel, why don't we just leave the subs in there? Because we have this sub covering this area. In fact, we can even get this and cover that. So now the sub is covering this bottom. And then so there you go, and pretty much we have our first drop. Now let's pick a vocal to go before the drop. We're gonna go into the pack, and then we're gonna go in here and find the vocal section of it, Confess Your Sin vocals. And now we can find from that like more than 100 types of vocal phrases here. So let's see, put your hands up if you're vibing with this. Let me see your hands drop. Lamborghini doors, have me looking hella fly. Who I only listen to house music. Who gives a rat ass? Who gives a fuck? I think that would sound pretty cool actually.
Who gives a fuck?
There we go. So pretty much that's going to be our vocal before the drop. Now, who gives a fuck? We're going to need like this kind of feel to go with it. So we're going to go into the drum one shots and get the claps. I kind of want something like that's it. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Keep it very simple. These claps, by the way, were made with the Arturia drum brute. I have it right here. I actually ended up buying it, and I was like, oh god, man, we have to give these guys these analog sounds, these analog type of claps. We can't give them like just me clapping. So we decided to remake them, and pretty much this is where they come from. So we're gonna add him here.
Who gives a fuck?
So then it's gonna be like
Who gives a fuck?
And then here we're gonna have another fuck, you know. So
fuck.
So pretty much here's where you're gonna do a little bit of work. Just get that Command C. That's gonna copy it, and then all we're gonna do is add it as a fill here. So pretty much
fuck.
Like that. Now we can duplicate that. But however, I do want a separate channel for this, so we're gonna call this the vocal chop channel. Now we do have vocal chops that are available if you want to use them. The only thing with them is that you got to make sure that it's part of your vocal, or you can use them, just make sure it makes sense. Who gives a fuck? And then if you find one that has fuck in it in there, you can use that. Now I am going to say there is a lot of bad words in this, so I am going to put a parental discrimination kind of thing, but let's keep going. Yeah, so that sounds pretty good there. Just got to add a bit of sidechain. So let's move these guys down here. And now we're going to add that sidechain so it sounds like it belongs in the song. A lot of the times people make the mistake of not sidechaining vocals because they're like, well, I want it to sound loud. But a lot of the times what that causes is just problems with that. It doesn't fit the track. There you go. See? All right, let's do it a little bit of this. Now, vocal chops are generally going to be wide. Why? Because usually our bass is going to be in mono all the way. Now, how do we do it wide? Well, I use CLA vocals, and that's something you guys can utilize as well if you guys have the Waves bundle. CLA vocals is like a gang, in my opinion. I always tell my fans, you know, like CLA vocals ninjas, hashtag CLA gang. Now, the reason that we use CLA a lot is because I've worked with a lot of vocalists, and I've met two of them. One of them worked with a Grammy-nominated winner, a guy who mixed and mastered like the LMFAO party rock anthem, and I think they got a record, like a kind of like an award for that, for mixing and mastering. And the guy literally just used CLA on the vocals. Keep in mind though, when he did record the vocals, he did have like kind of like a preamp, like a compressor going in to kind of make the vocals less dynamic, so it sounds stronger. But even then, just CLA on it is still a huge deal, and that's why the plugin is kind of like, I like the plugin a lot. So what we're going to do is now fuck with this. Now, we don't want that much reverb. We do want a little bit, but not too much. So we're going to click a tight reverb and move it down here. I am, however, going to make a tutorial on just CLA vocals, by the way, guys. So keep that in mind. Be on the lookout for it. We're going to go with stereo. And that sounds pretty cool. Let's lower the volume.
Fuck.
There you go. Now, let's keep going. We're going to duplicate this across. And then here we're going to have like kind of like this mini fill. And this is where you're going to have like more additions to the song. So pretty much here we're going to have more drums and stuff. So now let's get on with the claps here. We're going to utilize some claps. Now, if you use a clap sample from the pack, I suggest you keep using it throughout your song. What do I mean by this? Well, if you use the claps here, why don't you just keep the claps going with that same clap? Don't utilize a shit ton of sample. That's the first tip I'm going to give you. When I made the pack, I was like, usually I buy sample packs, and I hate when sample packs give you like 200 fucking kicks. Because in reality, I mean, literally, there's only a handful of kicks that you're actually going to use in a track. So getting 200 kicks, yeah, I'm giving you a lot of stuff. But at the end, why don't you just give me 10 really good fucking kicks rather than giving me like 100 fucking kicks? And that's just my philosophy on things. But from here, what we're gonna do is just duplicate this over. We're gonna have it here. I'm gonna have it here. It's just a standard, you know. And you want these kind of claps for this type of music. You don't want the pass kind of sound, because it ruins that vibe that you have in the track. You want a lot of sounds that aren't going to be that opened. What I mean by open, guys, is like if you were to have this bass and I were to fucking open the filter up on it, it's not going to sound the same. You kind of get me? So that's why we have that very closed. So there we go. The claps are fucking banging through. So we're going to pan them a little bit to the right. Now, the reason to pan the claps to the right is because it opens up the mix rather than having the clap hit in the center. That's the main reason for it. So what we're going to do is just pan it a bit by 6, right? You know, a value of that. Now, we're going to have hi-hats as well. So we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to pan them to the left by about 6R. Now, you know what? I think I'm going to do the 6L, because I do know that for the hi-hats in this pack, I did do that for you. So when you put the hi-hats, you're going to notice that it's kind of panned a little bit to the right. The reasoning behind that is because, again, if you just have the hats be in the center of the mix, it's going to sound very redundant. Like, it's just going to be here, the drums here, and it's going to sound like a cluttered mess. So in order to give everything space, because literally that's like the best tip I can give someone, is we have to play stuff. So one of the things with drums that we can do is we can pan them. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, Samuel, it's going to be panned to the right. They're going to be like, what the fuck? I hear it from the right. Keep in mind that the panning isn't done to an extreme, like in rock, mixing and mastering rock music. Sometimes the guitars are panned all the way to the fucking left. Here, we're just panning it a slight bit, so it's kind of off a bit. You're going to be able to tell. But the normal listener of this type of music, like a fan, isn't going to be able to tell you pan that. All they're going to hear is that, oh wow, everything is placed properly. In essence, sounds good. So what we're going to do now is just duplicate that. So we get to the fill over here, and then we're going to Command J that. Now here I'm going to get rid of the sub in this little part here. Now down here I want to kind of do an effect. So one of the cool things is there's some macros for these sounds. Now the macros, I didn't make them so that they would be redundant, where it's like if you change it, it changes the sound a bit. I rather use the macros for this kind of purpose, where you're going to be doing these kind of effects. So do is duplicate the hi-hats over like that. Okay, cool. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some hats. What the hats are going to do is obviously they're going to give rhythm to the track. Now, you can add the hats here, but sometimes, you know, it's up to you if you want to do it. You can add it here or you can add it here. It's totally up to you. Now, I personally like to make my own drum loops, so that's what I'm going to be doing. However, if you want to be, if you just want to use the drum loops that we have provided, that's totally up to you. I'm going to be using, however, I'm going to be making my own drum loops with this. So we're going to go with closed hats and then the open hats. Now, the drum loops are made with different samples we had, by the way. We wanted to kind of give everyone kind of like, oh, if you're going to use the drum loops from the hats, then it's going to contain these type of hats. But if you use the one shots and the closed hats, then those are going to be more from the drum brute. So the drum one shots, they are going to be from the drum brute. I have it right here. Hopefully I could play it, but I can't. And then the loops are going to contain just normal hats we made in Silent One and Serum. Okay, so we're going to go with this one. I kind of like the sound of that. So let's start making a beat. So this is going to be my open hat. And that's where it's going to go. We're going to lower the volume on it. And then we're going to, again, pan it to the right. Remember. So, I'm going to give it this kind of really swingy rhythm. Okay, I think we're gonna need like a close hat here, but we're gonna wait till we get to the next one. Or could be here, actually. There we go, that's the rhythm I wanted. Now we're gonna duplicate that. There we go. Now I'm gonna just Command J this again. Making my own drum loops. You can choose to do it or you can utilize the loops. So this is my open hat. Now we're gonna do another one. This is gonna be my closed hat. Now the difference between open hat and closed hat is that the closed hats are a little bit faster than the open hats. So that's just that simple. There you go, I like that one. Very, very, very plucky. Let's lower volume on it, and again 6 to the right. Let's go with 5R now, so they're not in like the same place. And let's see if we can. Let's do maybe. Let's not get too crazy with it because then we ruin the rhythm. So okay, I know I want one around here. Sounds pretty cool. Now I know it's missing something, but okay. Maybe here. There we go. That's what it was missing. Here you go. Okay, so here at the end, we need to kind of add like a little variation to it, that's for sure. We can add maybe a double hit, maybe.
Who gives a fuck?
All right, awesome. Now, so we have that. Now what we're gonna do is add this kind of downlifter here. Now this downlifter is gonna allow us to pretty much just have this kind of white noise going to it. So this is the one I want to use. There we go. Now, by the way, these downlifters are made pretty easily. It's just Silent One, white noise, you have a filter that's just opening up with a high resonance. All right, now the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be just moving the vocals forward. And then here I kind of want to put one that I know I have, because I know a lot of people are going to say this sounds generic. So you might get that comment now and then. So all you got to do is hit him with who gives a fuck if this is generic. All right, where the fuck is that?
Who gives a fuck? Who gives a rat ass? I only listen to house. Clap back. Put your fucking drinks in the air. Mustang G, let me show you how a true G.
Last night the party got the.
Lean back with me now. Always words. It started in the West. I only fuck.
I didn't put it in this one. Okay. So we released a freebie that had this vocal pack. I think it should be in the desktop. There we go. It's going to be a freebie.
Who gives a fuck if this?
We're going to add that there.
Who gives a fuck if this is generic?
Let's unwarp it.
Who gives a fuck if this is generic?
There we go. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to be moving this along. I'm going to remind myself to add the freebies in the pack as well, so you guys don't have to download them anymore. But hopefully you guys are enjoying that. Now let's go. Keep going here.
Who gives a fuck if this is generic?
I kind of want to have this echo to it.
Generic.
So let's add another CLA vocals for this section here. And what we're going to do is have that kind of vocal go with it.
Generic. Generic. Generic.
There you go. Wide.
Generic. Generic.
Lower the volume.
Generic.
Set just a little sidechain because there is going to be that kind of delay going. Awesome there. Now, once we have this, we're pretty much going to end the video here. In the next video, we're going to do the break, which is going to be the rough draft. And then the second drop, which is going to be very similar to this drop. And then in the last episode, what I'm thinking about doing is doing the mixing and mastering portion, as well as giving ear candy, because a lot of people have been asking. Now, we're going to be just saving this as G-House project, guys. But pretty much get ready for the confessions. I'm going to be making a future video where I show you the whole pack, the project files, the loops, and all that stuff, so you guys can utilize them. This is one way of using the pack. This is my way, where I wouldn't really use the drum loops and all this, because I've made like this New Year's goal last year, where I was like, I'm not going to use drum loops anymore. I'm going to make my own drum loops. So I wanted to keep it going with this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know a comment below on what you think. If you guys like G-House, you guys know what's up. Amen to that. And confess your sins today at midnight, because Confession Revolution is out. Peace out, guys, and I hope you guys have fun with the pack. Have an amazing day.
Sexy lady.